It's been a while since I've done one of these videos, and for those of you that are new subscribers, if you haven't seen all my videos in the past, we've been having videos out there for 4 or 5 years. I did some videos that were rants, and everybody loves the rants. That's what everybody wants right now. And they were actually, every rant I did was something that pissed me off, was true, was just, it is what it is, right? Haven't done one of those for a long time, probably because the camera's not on me when I have my fits. But after that, I started doing these remember whens, and I think it's a good time to do a remember when. Now, remember whens are usually on one topic only, but because there's some new subscribers out there, we're going to just throw it out there randomly, and then they're going to clue into it and see what they think. And if they like these remember whens, it's all about sharing your stories and saying when you remember when. I remember when, growing up, you could throw an old car seat or a blanket or whatever you want, and you could jump in the back of a pickup truck and you're riding down the main streets while Ma or Dad was driving, and it was all okay. Your kids, you rode in the back. It was good. You just had a good old time. You know, you went down to the Dog and Suds or the Dairy Queen or whatever kind of, you know, little fast food kind of, you know, maybe Big B Burgers or Big Bob Burgers, and you went down there, and there was still old cars in the parking lot. And you know, if you saw an old car that had chrome wheels on it, that was a huge thing. Nowadays, every car, even new cars, come with chrome wheels. Back in the day, cars came with hubcaps, and you know, you saved and saved to buy a set of chrome wheels for your vehicle, and you didn't have much of a choice back then. And when you did get them, usually most people could only afford to buy 2 at a time. So you know, usually they'd put the new chrome wheels on the front, and then later the back ones would come along. That's just how it was. I mean, your show car was your daily driver. And you know, that was what was cool about it. But I remember, you know, I mean, I didn't grow up in the 50s or 60s. You know, it was, for me, it was, you know, more like the, you know, the late 70s, early 80s, right? But at least I got to see that generation still, because those cars were still like 25 years old, so they were out there on the street, and it was fun to see them. You know, and you'd go down to these places, and people would be sitting with their families outside at the picnic tables having an ice cream or a burger or a hot dog or whatever, and you know, everyone was laughing or joking or just sitting having a family conversation. There was none of this sitting at the table like you see nowadays, and they're all like this. Yeah, we all know that's what goes on in the world today, and don't tell me it doesn't, because I see it every effing time I go out. It drives me nuts. I just want to walk over to these people and slam their phones down and say, what's the point even going out together if you're going to sit there and play on your phone? You know, I mean, kids back in the day, you know, again, I remember when you got a coloring book at the table. What do they give you now? Probably an iPad. I don't know. You know, we went to the P&E Fairgrounds. It's a fair we have here in British Columbia. And, you know, you went into the animal farm, like the animal section where the goats and chickens and rabbits and whatever all were. And they gave you a big coloring book then and crayons. Now they don't give the kids nothing. Nothing whatsoever. You know, they'd sit there and talk to you about the animals and show you stuff. I mean, just like a department store nowadays, you're lucky if you can find somebody to ask where something is or what it's about, even though there's 50 of them working there with their fingers up their ass. What can I tell you? Yeah, I remember this stuff. I remember going to the wrecking yards. You walked in with your big bag of tools. Nobody had to check your bag of tools. Hey, have you got any 60, 66 Chevy pickups in stock? Yeah, we've got some in the back row, in the back far over there next to the, you know, the old Fords and that. And okay, I'm just going to go, yeah, go take a browse around. Now you got to go in there, you got to have your bag checked when you go in, got to have your bag checked when you go out. If you can even find wrecking yards that will allow you to go in with a bag. Because there was too many people started thieving. There's just, you know, I remember... not so much in the United States for you Americans. You still have them, you know. We don't hear so much in Canada anymore. We used to have smorgasbords. You go to the smorgasbord, all you can eat, which was nice. It was fun, you know. You'd pick through all the different things and get a little bit of this, a little bit of that. We don't have them here in Canada anymore, because people would just heap their plates full of shit, and they'd eat a bit of it, then they just throw it off to the side, then they go back and heap it again with other stuff, you know. I mean, they're, you know, so they just cancel them pretty much here. We don't have that. Drive-in theaters. Drive-in theaters. I remember just, you know, you'd sit in the back of a pickup truck or grab your lawn chair. Maybe you'd be back in your car. Maybe you're that age, you're in the back of your car and you're making up with your girlfriend. You know what I mean? You know, where the drive-in's gone. I think we got one drive-in left up here that I'm aware of, where I am in my area anyway, called the Twilight Drive-In. You know, just the... I don't know, that stuff's gone away. The small mom and pop stores, they all had something different in them. They all had neat little things that the other store never had. And you know, they've just been, they're not there no more. They've just been taken away. They're gone, phased out by the big man. You know, there was this, so much. I remember going to the big car shows. We, again, here at the Pacific Coliseum, they'd have a big car show. One building would be all race cars and like mud trucks and that. One building would be street rods and hot rods. Another one would be your imports. Another one would be like race cars and that. Those are really good, and then they disappeared, and then of course we started getting car shows, you know, out other areas. We had a car show at the Trade X. It was okay. It started out really good, but it's just really gone downhill for us. I mean, you know, it's not the greatest. You know, it's two buildings, and I mean, you could they spread it out over 2 buildings, and honestly, you could put all the cars in probably half of one, and every car that's in there pretty much you see driving on the street every day anyway. Things have just changed. You could go down to the beach. You could actually park at the beach with your family, take your barbecue, take your 6-pack of beer. You could grab your 6-pack of beer, you could shove it in the cold water because you didn't have a cooler. Nobody took your beer, everybody was doing the same thing. The cops didn't care, they'd walk by, whatever. They knew you had a 6-pack of beer. They knew you were there for the day with your family. Kids are building sandcastles, playing in the dirt and the mud, getting it in their mouth, getting it in their ears, doing what they should do, being a kid. Can't do that anymore, and even if you want to do it, they charge you for parking. Go out and enjoy all the freedoms of life. Go out and enjoy this and go out and enjoy that. Go to the parks, go do this, go do that. Oh, we're going to charge you for parking, though. Yeah. But you can still find places to go. I live up here in Chilliwack, BC. Lots of lakes around us, lots of back roads, lots of stuff where you can go and do things, you know, which brings me on to, you know, you could have a group, you'd get together and go down by the river and you'd have campfires. Now, we still do that out here, but heaven forbid the man see us or find us. You know, heaven forbid for that. You know, they don't want you having fires like that anymore. I mean, I get it, kinda, because you know what it is people aren't as careful as they used to be. There's no common sense, I guess, a little bit out there. I don't know. I think there is. I think there is common sense. I just think that, you know, some people don't have it and some do. So, what else do I remember? I remember buying my first car when I was 12 years old and driving it. You know, you could do that. You could drive your cars. You could take them out. Dad would say, here's a quiet street. Drive your car down the road. There was nothing was going to go wrong. And if a cop did come along, God, almost every cop in whatever neighborhood you lived in knew who you were and said, get your ass back home. You could go down across the border. We used to go down across the border called Point Roberts, and there was a big beach down there too. And there was like a Legion place down there, a hall or something, and you know, the parents would go drinking, have a few drinks and that, and you'd come back across the border, and they knew at the border you'd been drinking. Oh, how long are you gone for? Oh, we came down this morning, and the kid went to the beach and stuff like that, and you know, we went over to the hall and had a few drinks. All right, see you later, get going. Heaven forbid you say you have one drink nowadays to anyone and look out. God, you can't even walk down a grocery store aisle anymore without being told which way to go. You used to be able to walk into the grocery store and the poor little old lady that couldn't reach the stuff on the top shelf, I'd be so happy to get it down for her. Heaven forbid now, she's sitting there struggling and I take it down and give it to her. And she, oh, no. Yeah, holy God, like, ooh, okay, never mind. I won't help. Oh, I remember when, and it's totally off topic of cars, but I remember when you go to flea markets. Actually, it's not off topic. You go to flea markets, and you know, I'm talking about the markets that were at like your fairgrounds and stuff like that. You could go there, and it was all like the stuff that you wanted to sell, like your old household items or car parts or camping gear or anything. And you sell that stuff. Now, they still have flea markets, but you go to the flea markets, and over half the vendors there are people from department stores that brought their shit out there now. And it's like, man, hey, come on. You have a business. 5, 4, 6, 7 days a week. Don't bring your shit out here. This is for us folk. I used to go down there. I used to be at the drive-in theater. We used to have a flea market down there. We'd get down there at 8 in the morning. First thing we'd do is walk into the concession stand, buy a great big thing of fries and gravy. It was like $2. walk around there. I'd come out of there with chrome valve covers and intakes and carburetors, and because I was a car guy my whole life, even as a kid I was buying this stuff because it was shiny. Woo! Shiny. You know, like a dog, right? Squirrel! You know what I mean? I had to have it. You know, even though it just hung on the wall. Shit, I still got some of that shit hanging on the wall. You guys see it in my pictures. Anyway, you know, you buy this stuff, and it was neat stuff you found, and now you go down to them, and it's like you probably get like 5 people from department stores and 1 guy that's selling his household stuff. Because the department people get there like at 4 a.m. and push all us guys out. Come on. Go away. You know? Oh, the car shows. When I was growing up, and it's come back again, thank God. When you went to a car show, even if you had a car that had a dent, had a scrape, had some rust, it didn't matter. You brought it out. You had fun with it. Most of the cars, when I was around, half of them were painted, half of them were in primer. Then all of a sudden, in the 90s and 2000s, shit happened. And everyone that had to be there, you wouldn't go there in your primer car no more because you felt like you didn't fit in. But thank God for the rat rods, because the rat rods came out, and now there's 2 types of rat rods. There's rat rods when they first came out, which are a good thing, and now they're kind of getting a little carried away where they're just chunking it together with whichever crap they can find that's totally unsafe, which I disagree with those ones. But the ones that are the built safe kind of rat rods, there's nothing wrong with them because they brought back us bringing our cars out in primer with a dent, with a scrape, with some rust. They brought them out. They brought them back again. So that's a good thing. That's a really good thing that they did that. It's not that they did it themselves, but they were just a group of guys that started building these cars, and they're like, hey, I'm going to pull into a car show, so what? And you know what? I get a kick out of it because I pull in, if you guys really have followed me, you know my 52 Chevy, the patina one, it's all rusty. I can pull into a car show that a guy just had a local shop build here for 100 grand or 200 grand, even a car I build for someone. And I can pull up next to it on my 52 Chevy, and I get more people around my Chevy than they do around their car that's all finished and wet sanded and woohoo, so hoity-toity. Yeah. So thank God for that. You know, but we don't have any shows anymore. We don't have nothing. We don't have that right now due to the times and the circumstances, which this video is not about insulting what's going on out there in the world. You'll have to read into how I feel about it. I'm sure you can figure it out. I was taught you never talk politics, religion, and apparently today you don't talk COVID because you could lose a lot of friends. And but that's okay, so I don't have a lot of friends anyway because I just build higher fences and bigger walls and more things to my shop, and I stay home and build cars and have fun because the man can't take that away from me. I have a good time here, and I can still jump in my car, go for a cruise, and you can still do that today. You can still do that today. You can jump in your car, pack a little picnic lunch, go for a cruise. That's what it's about anyway, it was driving your cars. You got to drive them. I remember when people built their cars and they drove them and they had fun with them. Nowadays they build their cars and they spend all this money on them and they leave them sit in a garage. So they can sit around and chug a beer back and they all say, well, I spent this much money with so-and-so. And then the next guy says, well, I spent this much with so-and-so. It's just a big pissing competition. I've seen cars that guys have built for 20 grand that look better than your $200,000 trailer queen. And I would know I build them for a living. So, which brings me on the topic was I remember you could build a gorgeous, beautiful show car for 20 grand. Oh my God, not anymore. You bring me a car and you're like, Rick, I want you to sand it and repaint it. I'm 10 grand all day. I know it sounds expensive, but I can't do nothing about it. The material is not cheap anymore. Material is through the roof. It's just through the roof. I don't know how it is where you guys live, but in Canada, material is through the roof. I can buy cheaper product if that's what you want, but I refuse to do it because in a year you're going to be coming back to me saying the primer's pimpling or the paint is lifting or the clear coat is fading, and you're going to hate me for it. But you hate me even if I buy the expensive stuff because you say, well, why is it so expensive? Well, what do you want? What do you want? It's a no-win situation. It's a no-win situation building cars. It is what it is. You do it for the love of it. You do it because it's something you always wanted. And that's it. But we're getting off topic. We got to get back on to remember when. I remember when on Sunday nights you turn the TV on, you go chick, 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 chick. You didn't have this. You turn the TV on every Sunday night. It seemed like they always play the good movies on Sunday night. Nowadays you got Prime, you got Netflix, you got cable, you got all that kind of stuff. But back in the day, you didn't have that. And they made it a point on Sunday night to put good movies on. I think they did that because they knew that everybody had had a long weekend and had a good time. And Sunday night was like, let's watch a good old movie before we go to bed. We got to go back to the grind tomorrow. Now they do it today because you've got so much to choose from, like I just said, Prime and Amazon and all that. But if you just had your basic cable or whatever the hell it is out there, your plain Jane, you know, to get you going, they don't do that. They don't. There's nothing anymore, you know. And if they do show you a movie Sunday nights, they repeat it for like 5 Sundays in a row. Like, come on. You can leave your car unlocked when you went places. You can't do that anymore. You can leave your house unlocked. You can't do that anymore. Nowadays, when you leave, you got to lock everything up like it's Fort Knox. It's unbelievable. Your own property. You got to lock it up like it's Fort Knox. You got to lock yourself in your house at night like it's Fort Knox. Unless you just have a bunch of bats throughout the house like I do and you just pray they come in. What can I tell you? It doesn't matter how much today's youth and people are growing up in the world, they're not going to experience how it was, you know, 20, 30 years back. They're not going to experience it. And it's kind of sad because it was a different world and you're never going to get that back again. You could let your kids jump on their bike and they could ride down with little Jimmy or Tommy or Sarah or whoever they were hanging out with, and they could go down to the park on their own and you didn't have to worry about it. You were at home doing your thing. Your kid was like 8 or 9 years old and he took off on his bike and he took off, say, around lunchtime after he ate his lunch, and he came back at dinner time. Nowadays, you got to load your kids up with these electronic things so you can keep track of where they are and find them. Because you got to worry about all the people out there. You didn't have to do that then. I know it sounds like so unreachable that didn't happen, and you're like, nah, it wasn't as good as you say it was, Rick. Yeah, it was. It was. Kids played outside, they ate dirt, they built things, they did things, they built a tree fort. When's the last time you seen a kid build a tree fort today? Do they even know what a tree fort is? Dad was out there building a tree fort with the kid. Mom was in there with the girl, and the girl had a little Susie Baker oven. You know, little ovens used to sit on the counter and it actually plugged in, and the little girl could bake cookies while Mom was baking in the real oven. But that doesn't exist no more because, heaven forbid, that's considered dangerous because she could still burn herself somehow. Or she might eat the plastic. Oh, come on. How would that happen? That would only happen if your parents weren't paying attention to you. Right? Which nowadays they probably don't because they're too busy on the cell phone, on Facebook, on Instagram. Yes, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram myself, but mainly from my shop. Because that's what I have to do to keep the business alive. But if you said to me tomorrow that there's no more cell phones, no more Facebook, no more Instagram, I would be okay with it. It wouldn't bother me one bit. One bit. Remember when the buy and sell used to come out? We had a buy and sell in Canada. The buy and sell would come out. I'd get up at Thursday, believe it or not, I'd get up at 5 a.m. I'd get down to the local Mohawk gas station because they would get it at 5:30 a.m. I would come home, be flipping through the buy and sell, looking at car ads, parts for sale, everything. So those that don't know what the buy and sell is, the buy and sell was almost like what your marketplace is on Facebook. You would, our Craigslist on Facebook. Whatever you see on Facebook, that used to be in a newspaper and came out once a week. And you'd get this newspaper and you'd look in there and then you'd had to wait because you didn't want to phone at 5:30 in the morning for the 55 Chevy that was for sale because you knew they were in bed. And then you'd phone up and it was a battle of who would get the phone call first. And then you'd phone up and you'd say, when can I come there? And they'd be like, well, I'm going to work right now. And then you have to rush to get there. It was like a challenge. It was fun. It was cool. Granted, today you can go online and find anything you want way quicker and have pictures of it and see it better. That is a bonus 100%. But it was just so much more fun in the paper because it was like the thrill of the chase, the hunt, the story behind it. Maybe the younger generation don't get what I'm saying right now. Maybe they're like, you're crazy, man. I just want to go online, buy my part on Amazon and be done with it. It's like, no, it's... Rick, how did you build your car? Okay, well, it took me over a year. I went to the Monroe swap meet. I went to the Portland swap meet. I went to the TradeX swap meet. I went through and found some people that were selling parts in their backyards. I went here, I went there, and I put it all together and I built my car. How'd you build yours? I just went down to the local automotive shop and bought everything over the counter and bolted it together. Wow. That's exciting, isn't it? Oh well. Still a cool car, but no story to it. No fun. At least not to me. Anyway, this is what Remember When is about. but usually I pick one topic. I just wanted to throw it out there. I think it's time we have a little remember when. In times like today, times are a little rougher now, times are a little changed. It's not the same right now. It's just a bunch of bullshit going on out there in the world with everything. And that's where I'll leave it. But they can't take away what I remember. They can't take away what I do on my property, in my yard. They can't take any of that away. They can't take away my cruising. They can't take away this. And there's still things you can do. We gotta remember when. We gotta go out there and have fun again. We gotta enjoy ourselves. That's what it's about. Unfortunately, we're never gonna bring back the simpler times that we had. You know, going to car lots. You'd go into a car lot back in the day, and way back in the day before I was even around, and they would actually literally give you the keys and say, take the car for the weekend. You'd bring it back on Monday. There was this thing called trust back then. They didn't take any money from you. They didn't take your credit card number down because you didn't have credit cards then. That's right, there was no credit cards. There wasn't. Remember when? Remember when you could go to stock car races, you could go to drag races. You had drag races on the back streets at night, out in the old farm roads, the drive-ins. Remember it all, folks. It'll bring a smile to your face. So remember when it was a good time, an old time? Well, it still is.